Now, conservative writer Ben Stein thinks that black people should be more thankful for President Trump. Let's take a look.
We're now looking at the lowest unemployment rate for black Americans in the history of the United States of America under none other than President Trump. Is any of that loyalty starting to shift? I mean, are traditional black Democrats saying, hey, maybe the Democratic Party has failed me. Maybe I need to rethink this?
I wish I could say that that was true, but I don't think it is true. I don't know why it isn't true, but there is a very deep attachment to black people feeling like they're the underdogs and the feeling that they've been victimized. And for a very long time, they were the underdogs and they were being victimized. So you can see why they feel that way.
Well, you can see why they feel that way, but they're not victimized anymore. Oh, no. Now they're just making it up. Really. Black people have an attachment to being victimized. Says somebody who's an incredibly wealthy conservative, who, of course, like a lot of other wealthy conservatives, cries every time the Democrats basically try to do anything that upsets their wealth and power. Conservatives cry all the time. I know, I've talked about it endlessly on the show. And they're the most likely to feel victimized by any sort of change. I mean, again, look at Donald Trump. He screams on Twitter about presidential harassment. I mean, come on. Now, it's funny because you didn't hear President Obama screaming presidential harassment when basically Fox News, and look, he would tweak Fox News every once in a while when they would attack him for wearing things like a tan suit. Remember that? Remember the tan suit? Now, as for some of the substance here, let me push back, right? Now, he says, Trish Reagan, basically the whole thing is, look, African-American unemployment is down. When are they going to switch away from being Democrats to becoming Republicans? Because we're helping them more than the Democrats. Now, look, if you want to be critical of the Democrats being crappy on, helping the African-American American community, well, that's a perfectly fine observation because right now our neoliberal corporate economic system is crushing everybody, but especially African-Americans. And they're unable to build wealth, and I've got some numbers on that. But is he kind of right that the unemployment rate is down for African Americans? Yeah, and it has continued its same downward trajectory that began under Barack Obama. Now, the only thing that Donald Trump has done is deregulate industry and give giant tax cuts to corporations. That actually hasn't increased job, employment, job creation. It's actually had no real discernible effect on job creation, but what it has had an effect on is, of course, rich corporations hoarding that money, CEOs and executives inflating their own stock values. These companies buy back their own stock and it inflates the value, they sell that off, and they pocket the money. That has not gone to the workers, that has not gone to creating more jobs. It's basically just a giant handout giveaway to incredibly wealthy people. Now, if Ben Stein was actually truly against handouts, which he appears to be, or he says he is, now if he really was, he'd be calling out the corporations that get giant tax cuts. And he should be calling out the Trump tax cuts for being a gigantic handout and giveaway to the wealthy, people like Ben Stein. But of course, he benefits from the tax cuts. He got a massive tax cut, and so that's why, of course, he says nothing about it. But to get here to the black community, right? Now, here are some of the real economic issues with the black community. According to the New York Times, for every $100 in white family wealth, black families hold just $5.04. The Economic Policy Institute found that more than 1 in 4 black households have zero or negative net worth, compared to less than 1 in 10 white families without wealth. The Institute for Policy Studies' recent report, The Road to Zero Wealth, showed that between 1983 and 2013, the wealth of the median black household declined 75% from $6,800 to a total of $1,700. Not only that, but you also had the median Latino household declining 50% from $4,000 to $2,000, and at the same time, wealth for the median white household increased 14% from $102,000 to $116,800. Now look at the disparity, right? You have the average median white household holding $116,800 in wealth compared to the median black household that holds $1,700. I mean, that is insane. And by 2020, black and Latino households, and it gets worse, are projected to lose even more wealth. 18% for the former, 12% for the latter. And after those declines, the median white household will own 86 more times more wealth than its black counterparts, and 68 times more wealth than the Latino counterparts. Now, is this all on Donald Trump? Of course not. No, this just continues a giant trend that was set up during segregation, Jim Crow, that basically prevented black people from being able to build wealth. In fact, there was a place nicknamed, Black Wall Street, right? Where basically angry white racists had burnt it down, destroying black wealth. So this is a problem that has existed for a long, long time. Boosting unemployment numbers, job numbers, and reducing unemployment numbers for the black community, it does almost nothing to fix this gigantic wealth divide that has happened over successive decades. And still, yet people like Ben Stein have the audacity to come out and say that, oh no, black people need to be thankful for Donald Trump. Thankful for what exactly? No, Donald Trump is the same old establishment that is crushing the African American community by making the rich richer at the expense of the poor. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.